Welcome everyone to another RGL cast and another RGL season. My name is Jared. I'm here with Space Ghost to bring you guys the Goblinvite Zone versus Anglerfish. This is RGL Invite 6's Season 11, Week 2A, and we got some, I'd say it's fair to say, a lot of fresh blood coming in this season. And definitely for this match, it might not be necessarily the playoff race that we are necessarily used to with such a big division of 10 teams entering this season. But there's still other prizes to behold, such as avoiding relegation, keeping yourself as a mainstay, and of course, the grudge matches that are created along the way between these teams as they play their matches. Space, we got a long season and a lot of matches ahead of us, but starting with process, are you ready for the new season?
I am ready for the new season, and I'm ready for a lot of new fresh blood and invite. Like you said, a lot of new blood. 10 teams this season, and yeah, I think it's definitely going to be interesting to see the race for the fourth seed and probably not the third seed, but the fourth seed definitely could get very interesting depending on how the season goes. But it is still pretty early on in the season. There's been a couple matches played, but for the most part, all the players eager and bright-eyed and hope their season goes well.
The extra fun news is for so many teams, there's a lot of difficulty in keeping track of like tendencies of all the different players and teams because you can only play so many at once before the matches really start to kick off. So this is probably one of those seasons where you start to see like a lot of upset wins. Maybe even before you realize they were an upset win in the first place, you just like see two teams like, oh, I guess they were better than the others, and it turns out like, oh no, they did really well early on. So that should be pretty neat to see. And for the Goblinvite Zone and Anglerfish, we'll get into the rosters for a moment, but this is definitely going to be an immediate rematch, which you probably wouldn't expect, as both these teams were qualifier teams, had to go in and shake things around and see who's going to end up on top and find their way into invite. These two teams made it. I think actually all the teams made it because there was indeed enough slots at the end of the day, but there's still some matches to look back on when it comes to like, oh, what do these teams usually end up like, you know, having a scoreline of when they play versus each other. Usually early on in the season, you don't get that kind of information, but I guess we're lucky in that regard that we do actually have something to reference. But it's time to go over the rosters. I'll go over the Anglerfish roster first. It is the Great Mage and Ali on Scout, Tristan and Zaya on Soldier, Golden on Demo, and Bacon on Medic.
And for the Goblinvite Zone, we got Magma and Deadly Seed on Scout, Alexandros and Tomato Tom on Soldier, Gaye on Demoman, and Zoomzy on Medic.
Yep, I think overall it's 9. I think it's 9 that are like fresh to
I
invite.
recognize a lot of the players just from pugs and those sort of things, but yeah, I think I know all the players in the server, but definitely, so a lot of them new to invite. Golden, I believe, played invite in the past, but not on Demoman. He was on Scout, if my memory serves correct. Alexandros might be familiar to long-time viewers. He's been around for a while. Still on Soldier, and I think Magma and maybe Guy. I don't think Guy. I think Guy's new, but
yeah, Guy
Magma's
was on a roster, but Magma actually Magma
name.
has a very sad negative win rate of I think it's like 0 and 38 of something because he's
The low invite
found
grind is real.
It is very real, so I'm sure he's hoping to get his first victory here tonight.
Most definitely. And process might be a pretty good map to do if you are on the scout class, but I think it comes into play when you talk about brand new teams like that. If one team has like particularly experienced players or like just players with a little more invite experience, it really can make the difference in terms of just like strategy, cohesion, all that good stuff. And I think out of everyone in the server, I think Alexandros has the most invite experience.
I think so. Maybe just a tad more than. Actually, no. He has played like upwards of like what, at least like 4 or 5 seasons at this point on various teams.
He's been on like decent invite teams before, I think.
And
not
all
like
takes
not
is
like
one,
good, but decent.
One knowledgeable player to give that feedback to the team, whether it's in the heat of the moment, like in the game, or just like taking a look back, like in hindsight of like what needed to happen in different games across the season. They can really separate like the pretty good teams from like the really great teams. So it's always going to be definitely something really beneficial. Although it's definitely going to be more of an advantage for the side of the Goblin Zone in that regard. But I think Anglerfish have a really interesting story of this is a roster that both the rosters of like have some cohesion in terms of that. It's not like, oh, you brand new fresh 6 players never played against each other or with each other ever before, but Anglerfish didn't play last season. They played 2 seasons ago, barely missed playoffs in advance, and they just kind of did their own thing. I think half of them didn't even play in the previous season, and then I'll come back together to go ahead and play the qualifiers this season and make it through. So I think that's going to be a pretty interesting story, and they definitely have some cohesion there, although I don't know if it's necessarily advantage because Goblin Zone, as stated before, they're a move-up team as well. Even the new people to the roster, which I think at this point is going to be Alexander and Zoomzy, aren't new. They didn't play last season, but I'm pretty sure they played with the Goblin Zones the season before with a slightly different roster in advance. So it's not like there's not too many faces here that are not like new to Invite per se, but like new to the team, like still getting used to your environment, like cohesion with your teammates and that kind of stuff. So once again, you usually don't kind of expect that stuff week one
Yeah.
necessarily, but here we are.
Yeah, it also helps the it's pretty tough if you're like the low invite team and you're like the only real new kids on the block. You got all these like big names you have to go up against, and you kind of get stomped all the time. It's not that fun, but I think it's going to be a lot easier. Maybe get a more gentle approach to invite when there's all these new teams and fresh bloods. That way a lot of players are making kind of like the same newbie mistakes over and over again.
Yeah,
So
definitely
instead
gonna
of
help
just
low
like
invite.
instead of just you, so it could maybe I hope that some of these low invite teams stick around and actually move up, and towards the end of the season, maybe even start contesting some of the higher teams. Maybe not winning games, but at least maybe getting more rounds, all that good stuff. I just hope to see a good season and see some improvement from them over the long term. I think that's really what you gotta aim for.
Yeah, anytime you're at the bottom of a division, all you're really hoping for is just like, all right, as long as we get something out of these matches, like even or might lose a decent amount, but win a couple, make sure the scrims are like good, and then
Maybe play spoiler.
yeah, and then your season's like okay, it's fine.
Yeah.
As best as you could expect. But I think when it comes to easing your way into things, that process is a pretty good example of making sure that things aren't too hectic or at least foreign when it comes to putting yourself out there in the beginning of a season. Pretty staple map, and I'm pretty sure I don't remember which team. One of these teams has just opted to just ban everything except process and have 3 process matches in a row already. So it's already going to be a staple. It might be. We've talked about maps that tend to be like, oh, 2 seasons ago it was a snake season where everyone just played snake over and over again. There were so many snake matches. Oh, it's process now.
I've seen a
It
lot of
it
process.
it might be process again, but for good reason. It's baby's first sixes map. It's the
It
thing
is.
that everyone's kind of introduced to. So it's everyone's comfort zone. It's the first thing that's played in every other pug group in the history of the world. It's just that it's not about the new stuff. It's about which stuff you actually do for your team. So there'll be some comfort there for both these teams. There's going to be some uncomfort for us when it comes to predicting the playstyles of the teams, as they are going to be new to us unless you've been keeping a very close eye on advanced over the past year or so, since you have like dynamics that go back more than just like the beginning of winter and the end of fall, the previous season, season 10. So we'll get an eye on how these teams really play. Maybe you can keep an eye on some individuals and getting an idea like, oh, you can already see Magma's on sniper, and he might want to do a lot of that because it's process after all. So you maybe get a couple tendencies, kind of latched away on what you think's going to happen. But I think it's time to talk about that. What you think's going to happen. We don't have too much to really go off of. There's the qualifiers that we talked about, which I'll go into depth in a moment. But when you think about the final scoreline between both these teams, or at least how you think the process in general is going to go down between them, what kind of calls do you space?
I think the real question is whether teams can push last or not. I know I harped on it a lot last season, but it rang true for most of the season that process last was just the impossible challenge. Nobody could push it. I just push over push going into last and ending up unsuccessful. Uberad, players down, you name it, just could not do it. I wonder if that's gonna be the case here, or if it might be the opposite, where because they're new teams, players might make mistake on defense and might get punished. But I don't know. I think it's going to be close, but I'm not sure which way. I'm tempted to lean the side of Goblin Zone though, just because hey, I know the players there a little better, and yeah, mainly just off of that.
Yeah, if you go back and look at the references of the last chance qualifier, I think for the side of Goblin Zone, they did win both the maps. They did 5-1 on Gullywash, but it was a 3-2 on Snakewater, which is much less of a choky map than Gullywash is. So process wide and open. Could be really anyone's game since it's so classic. I kind of agree that Goblin Zone definitely has an edge, not just because of the last chance qualifiers, but because we talked a little bit about before that they have some experience, not only recently, but in terms of invite experience already. They kind of have the trump card there and over Anglerfish, but I definitely think it's going to be close. I'm not counting Anglerfish out at all because all it takes is a couple good mids and it begins a swing of things. You get a good advantage in terms of the score and the clock. I mean, the clock can't run out fully with the config, of course, but
Yeah.
you can make a really nice deficit that's really hard to climb back from. I'll say like a 4-2 for the side of Goblin Zone. I think we're gonna hit overtime here.
I think we're gonna You know, I'm gonna go against the green here. I don't know if this is actually gonna happen, but considering we're basically just spitballing, I'm gonna say it's gonna be something painful, like a 2-1 or even a 1-0. I could
It
see it.
could be.
Yeah, I believe we're still in the same config as last season. Did they reduce the timer from 5 to 4? I forget. I know that was discussed, but I don't know if they actually did it.
I don't think anything changed. I mean,
Okay,
if it did, we'll see it
I guess
immediately.
we'll see. Yeah.
Yeah.
So still the same config as last season. Last season, so we do have infinite overtime, which is good if you're a fan of comebacks and fan of extending things out. But yeah, if you're not really clear on if you can't close out the games, you might be in for a rough time this season.
Yeah, at least it's process. Like you talked a little bit about last, and I think that might vary between the teams, not only the teams that are deciding to push, but whatever defense the opponents are going to be putting up. And with a bunch of different teams, like this isn't even a repeat of any of the matches that we casted last season. So yeah, maybe there's a difference in the defense or like the pushing strategy could make last not so difficult to really secure. But I'm kind of curious on how slow or fast the actual gameplay is going to be. You know, how many stalemates do you actually hit, or do you find moments where you can actually kind of push the envelope? It is newer teams, and it's on the probably the lower half of invite rather than the upper half. So you might see slightly less risk taking, and it might be a bit slower. But I don't know if you could also just see like a playstyle that says screw it and dry push. You never know with some of these teams.
I do know off the top of my head, I do know Tomato Tom is either like a tier 5 or tier 6 jumper. He's like up there with jumping. I know he does it a lot, and he's on Soldier. So I am expecting some beautiful, graceful bombs out of Tomato Tom. That's one thing I'm looking forward to is some glorious, maybe experimental bombs. I don't know if I'll actually see it, but one can hope and dream.
I think the epitome of Goblin Zone, like the best way to describe them is experimental, like in a lot of people's eyes, because they historically, like I don't know about, well, I guess we'll see pretty soon when it comes to this particular roster, but historically, ever since their creation all the way back like years and years ago, it has been the team that you can rely on doing unorthodox things because the surprise factor is enough to net them the victory.
It's a certain
It doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter like which players. It's just the team as a whole. Like they'll have at least one player do something even slightly unorthodox, and the surprise is enough to grant them victory because it's like, oh, they're doing that, and then by the time you like try to adjust, it's kind of like either it's gone or it's over. Either like whatever they were doing is no longer relevant, or the match is like it's near its conclusion. You don't have enough time to like climb back. So yeah, I'm definitely kind of excited to see what this era of Goblin Zone is going to bring.
Yeah, that's true. They might have some of the chaos players removed, over the course as they transitioned from advanced to invite. So not sure exactly if that is a good point though. I know they did do that in the past, but different roster might have different results, or maybe they play a little scared because it's invite, or the opposite. They play like Chads. Regardless, I feel like we've talked a lot about Goblins, but we haven't talked that much about Anglerfish. I know I feel like Golden played Scout last time he played invite. Maybe I traditionally know Golden as a Scout mean, unless it's a different Golden, which I don't think it is. So I know Golden is.
He played on Season 8 with Penguins of Madagascar, who actually had like a really decent roster, but then tragedy struck and they got 7th, so it didn't really do crazy well, but it was still a decent showing. I still think it's really interesting how they took like a season off and then come back and it's like almost exactly the same roster. That's some good cohesion and synergy coming from like a game that there's so many shuffles it can be kind of hard to have a solidified roster. I think it's definitely going to be a benefit for them as we're getting teased with going live, but I think we had a little bit of a reset. It's not actually going live.
Got my hopes up.
Yeah, baited.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, but now we're finally going live. We get to see who is going to lead the charge right out of the gate. This is going to be Anglerfish versus Goblinvite Zone.
All right, let's see if there's any crazy experimental rollouts or anything like that. But yeah, going to our first mid of our first casted match this season. It's going to be Goblin Zone versus Anglerfish, and yeah, nothing too crazy. Actually, Alexander's going to take immediate fight with some of the flank players, but he's going to back up. He's going to get his health, sit on the pack, get the spode. As both teams not really electing to do too much. A lot of hurt players. Tomato Tom is a bit hurt, but nothing really going on too much. No commit bombs, at least.
Red has the high control. They're taking over the enemy team's crates. They're kind of stuck in the sewer area, the blue team. They're jumping around. The soldiers are making space, but Tristan and Alexandros will fall from their respective enemy team. But actually, lock and load's coming out from the side of one of the teams. Is that? Yeah, Guy is using lock and load. There you go. That's the interesting thing you were looking for. But Deadly Seed going to fall. Magma really low. Red HP 4. Is that going to be enough? Pistol. Oh, actually, Sticky down. Golden able to secure that kill. No scout speed available for the side of Goblin Zone. There's no way they're going to be able to hold on to 2. And the blue team, they found their way to secure mid. They lost one, but overall pretty clean. Able to make sure that 2 is locked down, and it's not only the first mid underway, but probably the first stalemate. It doesn't seem like Goblin Zone really has too much of footing to do anything. Alexandra's peeking, Deadly Seed peeking, but it's too little too late.
Yeah, Alexandra's did he got a lot of damage on the mid, but Tomato Tom was waiting for a boat, unable to commit, is gonna back up. I believe Luminek actually ate a pipe, but
yeah, the lock and load.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's people already complaining about it in chat. I have trauma from the lock and load from Highlander pugs, as actually we do see a 2K in lobby, but
soldiers.
Yeah, that weapon is it's so frustrating to play against. I'm not gonna flame blue team if they start complaining about it.
Yeah, making some space for the soldiers, actually working their way in. Red team, actually, with both soldiers dead, it seems like
Anglerfish,
they do not want to take that risk. You can see their stance on risk taking so far in the beginning of this match. They're not taking any chances.
Exchange, no. I mean, they're down 2 spamming classes, and they're down both the classes that traditionally, the 2 players that traditionally are gonna sack. So it'll be a little rough. As someone tried to sack and just got like airpiped by a lock and load pipe. Love to see it. It begins.
Yep, so at least the silver lining for them taking that a little bit safer play is the ball is still kind of in their court. It's just not trying to break into last. They do have a soldier going in to make space. We'll find Tomato Tom over in the side of Al-Qaeda. Ultimately, will not lead to too much, except, a couple weak players from the spam getting traded a bit. Soldier finally going commit again, but Tristan will indeed die. Not enough damage to really write home about. And another counter sack coming in from Alexandros. Falling in kind, so just a 1-for-1 soldier trade, keeping it simple so far when it comes to trying to break the stalemate and sacks. But
3 people in sewer though. Looks like they're actually going to go for something a little more aggressive here, getting their medic, or at least get their player buffed before he's going to go. He is going to be full 300 as he bombs. There's going to be a counter jump here from Alexandros and Tomato Tom, but not really too much happens. A lot of damage getting traded. Hurt Golden is going to force blue team to back up, and no kills traded, but they did rotate their heals. They tried something a little different at least to make sure everyone's fully buffed before they went, but no dice is back to square one, I guess. Gotta get those sacks in somehow, but it can be kind of tough if your team's not super confident on sacking.
Yeah, so far, Anglerfish have taken a lot of damage in various locations of the map when they've tried to do their sacks, but it seems like a kill has almost been gifted to him in Al-Qaeda. They're trying to make some space. One soldier fakes, another one commits in, tries to find the way into
headshot rocket!
Extra stand from Golden, who committed all the way in and then surfed out to his team in Al-Qaeda. Coordination is there. The side of Goblin Zone are trying to make some extra space, getting a kill inside IT, but that's going to be pretty much it. They have to try to get this force, but they're not really in the great position to only have 1 spamming class and just a couple scouts left, so going to go ahead and back up to last is what a great play from the side of Anglerfish. Finally, 3rd time's the charm is all I'll say. Finally breaking into second.
He didn't get the kill, but that headshot rocket up to the sacking soldier was absolutely massive, because that, the medic couldn't do anything. He's just sitting there, then ended up dropping, so like you said, 3rd time's the charm is, I feel like people, it could have been very easy to criticize them for giving up seconds so freely, but they're actually in a better position now after, playing that conservatively. Looks like they're going to be using here, going to get the gun, but they didn't get that much space. They do get Spade of Tom, though, so that doesn't pick, and a demo is trapped off in spawn. There's no stickies on the point as Alexandros does have to fight it. There is a Buddhist out. Magma is on Buddhist fighting, and there's a lot of hurt blue players. They're so hurt, but are they actually going to be able to clean up these kills?
Yeah, 4 players red health, but only fighting 3 people should be good enough for the side of Anglerfish to take this round. And that was pretty textbook. They went in, got all the heavy artillery out of the way. They pretty good jump up over their spawn, and it took a lot of help from them. Like I said, 4 down in the red, but did enough to hide away, get a couple arrows, and finally jump on the heavy at the last second when everyone was ready for it. And pretty textbook, but that is just one of the rounds. One in favor of Anglerfish. So to go to another mid between these 2 teams, and got a soldier going in fast really early on a guy, not committing quite yet though, as seems like soldiers are going to be content with keeping their lives as the battle for high ground begins.
Battle for high ground does begin. Last time we saw a lot of red players on the high ground, but they ended up just eating a bunch of damage and backing off as one blue soldier's in choke, and actually there is going to be a commit, but he ends up just killing himself. Does do a bit of damage onto Ali, but that seems to be it as yeah, the Great Mage is going to fall, so Anglerfish down 2 players.
And they played Ring Around the Rosie. They are on the wrong side of the map.
Oh, I didn't even notice that. Good call, as they are on the wrong side of the map, but they're going to have their Uber faster, actually. Red doesn't have their Uber quite yet. They did cap the mid, though. They're just trying to run in and get second. They got Golden. He's going to fall. There's 2 scouts on the point. Can they stop this in time?
Oh, they haven't even forced the Uber. They're just kind of dead in the water. Ali barely gets some damage, but
Wait, the sniper. He killed the scout. That might have saved it.
they kind
There's
of
a level
Bacon
2
alive as a pet, and they're just trying to go for last, saying, screw it, we don't need these kills. Uber in, get the gun, that's done, check. Try to get the scout off the point. They've cleared him off of the soldiers. Are here in tandem, trying to get some damage, able to clean up Alexandros. Magma really be getting piped. Golden able to secure 2 kills, but oh, they've bitten off more than they can chew. They thought, let's just ignore everything, but they ignored a little bit too much. They ignored the medic and the soldier behind, came in at the last second, flanked, did tons of damage, and kind of is the thorn in their side that prevents them from locking down last as clearly as they wanted. And
so the sniper got an early pick, and they had a level 2, which didn't watch all of the point, but it watched enough that the demo couldn't fully cap it. And then the red medic Ubered the demo capping, so they couldn't even finish it off. What a series of events there, but in the end, that is gonna spell that means that Anglerfish is gonna be able to push back in the mid, or at least try. Alexandros is gonna fall, but no real damage done, just the pick, as actually Zion is going to trade out, so...
Oh, they're getting a sniper, though.
2 soldiers, actually...
Only 1 rocket, though. Magma
only 1 rocket. Yeah, Magma still lived on sniper. 30% ad, or at least it was even bigger, but it's going to fall off now, and your team is playing pretty passive here down to soldiers again, as there's going to be a lot of room for the sniper to work with.
Yeah, I guess they didn't really want to pop just for the sniper, but the attempts to try to make space early just led to the soldier's deaths, and now Goblin Zone is finding a lot of space. They have the sniper inside sewer. It's kind of leaving Anglerfish in an awkward spot. They do eventually have to use the Uber, but they've taken a lot of damage with this. Trying to go find their way onto Gaia, onto the red demo, Gaia. Able to get some damage on him, but overall he's locking things down. They've recognized they had to use their Uber way too early, that there was no way a post is going to be able to begin. And Zaya, he was behind, but way too weak. Even trying to get out late without a fight breaking out, it's still able to get caught by Tomato Tom. And at the end of the day, great plays from the side of Goblin Zone to make sure things were locked down, and it pretty much forced Goblin Zone to play into the palm of Anglerfish's hands.
Oh, the pipes! They're caught in the corner, but the demo unable to hit multiple pipes they're going to clean up. Did hit one, which is going to force them back up, but there's a sniper posted up in lobby. He's kind of standing in the door. Actually, he's rotating to the other door now, looking through one, but got to find the angle there. We do have a hurt engineer is going to get that spawn pack, I guess, and repair. But yeah, both teams just going Uber, but I do like the aggression, even though they don't have Uber here, with the sniper. But Magma, speaking of aggression, actually is going to get caught out. That is a 2-for-1 trade, but, I guess you can consider that a sack, trade 2 for 1. Yeah, well, especially if you're building Uber, it's whatever.
Yeah. They're counter-sacking, though. Tristan finding their way in. A little bit of damage on the Zoomzy. Zoomzy does not want to pop, though, and actually, Ali has to run away, try to poke their way into one, but ends up finding 2 players, but, oh, Golden has that lockdown, able to really find too much more there and chase that frag, so a little bit of chaos happening, but at the end of the day, it's just the 1 frag as Magma is back up on scout, so no more sniper shenanigans, trying to find their way to get a pick that direction, and probably just going to go for a normal sack. The gun's getting built up.
Just waddled through 5.
He's just in. No one's
stopping him. Oh, you have a nice rocket.
Yeah, get a face tank just a tad, but 1 soldier is not enough to spam down that gun. It will stay up on top of the point.
Yeah, that engineer was doing, doing God's work out there, just hitting that sentry over and over again, keeping it up, and yeah, that's definitely frustrating when you use like 8 rockets on a sentry and it just doesn't die. I mean, Tom's gonna try to spam it, but they actually do manage to get the gun at the cost of a lot of health, but they do get the gun.
He drops the pipes.
Oh my goodness. I didn't even see where. Where's his gun?
It's his he had his crossbow crossbowing someone and just got piped. So even, I think even if he wanted to use, he might not have recognized it.
I see. All right.
Zoomzy is definitely described as a medic anyway. That's like, yeah, no, I'm not popping here. I don't need to.
That's Chad. That's Chad.
It could lead to some drops. That one was definitely not a great one. In a little awkward position, but ad for the side of Anglerfish didn't get forced out onto 2 pretty much for free. They're taking the choke direction, but there are some sticks to be wary of. They're trying to clear it some, but the distraction's being used. Soldier bombs in. A little bit of a fake, just giving up some health to make sure that things are slowed down, buying some time. Deadly Seed is going to get exploded off the roof, but able to take down Zion. Tristan falling as well. They've lost both their soldiers. They have this out of work with very little chase left. Soldier bombing in. Bacon actually separated from the rest of the team, going back to the health pack. The rest of these 3 players out on an island trying to fend for
Golden's
whatever
so hurt.
Health
Can they clean him up?
Golden barely living, eats the arrow. They still have this ad, though. This ad was so huge that despite the slowness of this push, only their soldiers respawn now. They still technically can push forward. Respawn advantage in favor of Goblin Zone, though there is some merit to stay up. But now Zoomzy left IT not the same direction as a team, and that's going to block any potential room for spam and last-second force coming from the side of Goblin Zone. So a bit scrappy, but at the end of the day, Anglerfish show true and able to take that point for themselves. But this ad, even though they haven't used it, it's definitely dwindled. It is not usable, but they're still going to poke around through Al-Qaeda and Sewer to see if they can get some extra space to maybe even get a sack, or who knows, maybe they can go for a super chat exchange if they see the moment arise. But Soldier immediately bombs in. Air shot.
Air shot is gonna fall as Yeah, that was an unfortunate sack. I feel like sometimes on process, getting those sacks off is pretty tough because you just get shot by like every player in the server. Alexandros is behind though. It seems like they are somewhat aware as they do have the Great Mage looking behind, trying to, you know, see out where he is. Alexandros doing the loop, collecting all the packs. We actually have an exchange going on in choke while this is happening. Oh no!
Skyblock. Oh no, this could be disastrous. Zoomzy, almost dead, will eventually live, but they're fighting 3 people going in from the red team to try to find the way into bacon, but will not be successful. It's just a meat grinder, and Gaia and Zoomzy have to escape. That post was definitely not what they wanted. They tried to bail out their medic from being caught up in the skybox, and they successfully did that, but not going to hit too much. Their Great Mage will be a casualty trying to chase their way into lobby, and will end up finding Gaia's stickies, but at the end of the day, oh no, Gaia overstayed his welcome. He thought 5 was safe, but Golden says, heck no, you are my frag, as they actually pile their way through 5 before the cap's even done. They're immediately on top of the cat. Heavy isn't able to break onto the point because he's too slow, and the Soldier barely jumps in time, but not quick enough, as Anglerfish take their second round 2-0.
That fight on mid, they were trying to help, you know, they're trying to exchange because Alexandros was behind and he wanted to come back in the push, but Alexandros just died to a 1 or 2v1 behind, so, you know, it just kind of spiraled out of control from there. I like the theory behind it, but just execution was, you know, not up to par. As going to this mid, they're now down 2-0 heading into this, and they gotta start getting some rounds soon. You know, the mids have gone one way each, as that's a pretty good start, killing Tristan basically before the even starts. And we do have a spoon coming up, but it's gonna miss, but it's not gonna even matter as he gets the kill anyway.
Yeah, backup rocket launcher will do the trick, so the soldiers for Goblin Zone, you know, putting in the work that mid 1v1 and pretty much a second one going realistically. Able to get those 2 frags. Have to leave 1, go ahead and tap, but Alexandros will die in IT trying to get through his eye, able to kill up that frag, and they bought a lot of space. Bacon he got hit a little bit, unable to go that aggressive, and that's going to affect the ability to get healed from the side of the blue team, want to stand on top of the spire. Kind of just gives them even more room to move forward, but actually the damage from Golden is a bit too much. They've given up so much health, but able to collect enough frags and maybe even finding one more. Great Mage's on the chase, able to find Magma, and Tristan bails him out, just barely red HP. Is no scouts for Goblin Zone? I mean, you have an Uber, but how are you going to be able to hold mid? I think they recognize that, but Tom he's kind of caught, but
he got
barely able to escape, jumping away. Yeah, T6. So at the end of the day, Anglerfish are definitely showing a lot of promise. They found their way to hold it too, and they're just going straight in. They recognize the scouts are barely rolling out. The Soldier is trying to make tons of space, trying to find a way into Zoomzy.
Oh, that was so close.
Rocket. The fall damage is not quite enough though to actually no, never mind, it is. He did pop out. Didn't see him. He was behind the spire. Whoops, my bad. So at the end of the day, successful force coming from him.
Yeah, it was a little bit delayed there, but he saw that there's more players in choke, and he didn't want to have, you know, the same thing that happened last time, where the Soldier died, but then he just ends up taking, you know, dropping for like a 30 damage sticky across the map. So it's kind of the force there. Blue team, I think they know. That was kind of a passive Uber. I think they know. It looks like they do.
Yeah, they're pretty far back, Goblin Zone. Trying to make some space, the blue Soldiers.
Oh, there goes another one for the lock on those gods. Is they're gonna have to back up, and yeah, they bought a little bit of time, but they you know, traded 1 for 1, which I guess isn't ideal at the end of the game, but I guess it's something. There's gonna be a good coming up. That is one less spam class to be able to go in, at least during this upcoming Uber. It's only 20% now, and they're actually gonna go, but this is gonna be really tight. They gotta win this last fight pretty thoroughly.
Yeah, Gaia gets pulling back into spawn. Tomato Tom jumping in to try to get some damage onto Alley, but we'll back up to their medic. Magma out on Heavy now, kind of separated from the medic to be able to get a lot of heals, but I think Anglerfish recognized that Uber was not quite what they wanted. They didn't really get any frags, and they lost Zaya as well in entry, so no post there. As the Goblin Zone, they're peeking out. They have it ready, trying to make sure that Tristan is blasted back, and they're able to make sure that enough space is granted. They don't have to immediately pop out through lower. Be able to walk their way through, gets on the cap, and Anglerfish back up in kind. So Goblin Zone have successfully found a way to maintain their Uber and save it for mid. Doesn't seem like they want to immediately jump in, trying to milk this through as well. The spam is a little bit more heavy. Tomato Tom taking some damage, but Tristan giving up his own life for it as well almost, but will barely make it back. They're working their way through. They bought a lot of, actually they bought the high ground. And, yeah, they got Zaya. And Tristan came in, it was a double Soldier Bomb that, you know, got Zoomzy down to half HP, but that's not enough for the force. So they've taken 2 points for free, and they might not be able to use this Uber ad because it's going to dwindle, but they block both the Soldier spawns and can use that player ad to maybe even take the next point for free as well.
Yeah, it looks like the Anglerfish side does not want to fight this, even though they are just approaching the Uber. They, you know, it was 10%. They didn't want to get Ubered on and, you know, lose it all. So they're going to settle. They're confident in their last hold. So they're just going to settle into this last hold, you know, see what they can do. They already held last, I think, once. So it's definitely possible. As now it's on they gotta kill the gun, and the gun's in the good spot.
They get 1 pick from the side of the blue team. I think Tristan was kind of hiding by the boiler spotter, or at least he was inside lobby and was able to ultimately trade. So 1 for 1s. I guess the sack that Goblin Zone was kind of planning, expecting, didn't really go their way that time. But at the end of the day, you know, it's just 1 for 1. You can come up whatever you want. And Deadly Seed coming up on Sniper, so there'll be another Sniper attempt coming from a Goblin Zone, but this time the opposing scout. Tristan, on Spa, are you checking or are you walking out? Let's see.
Please walk it. Give me some.
He's just checking. So
give me some spy gameplay.
I think they recognize at this point. They saw the Sniper cosmetics, yeah.
Yeah. So they're gonna know Deadly Seed is on Sniper. Process Slash can be a little surprisingly tough to push into. If you can't get through the doors, it's tough. There is a lot of them. Oh, he's gonna go for the hero shot. No, he missed. They don't know. Oh,
one shot's all you get.
He had it, but the medic was just kind of, you know, spinning in circles inside a dispenser. Couldn't hit the shot, and that's gonna spell that sack. And that was definitely a little rough. But we do have a counter sniper for the blue team. See what they can do. As Alexandros does manage to get a kill in too, so that's a pretty good way to, you know, kind of end that. As Deadly Seed wants to go for round 2, back up on sniper.
Yeah, didn't really get a real chance. Got one shot. You want a little bit more than that. You have some time, I guess, but very few chances. So definitely have to make the most of it. As we might see the first SVS, depending on the angles here. It's not going to be quite yet, but maybe eventually. No one really is finding anything in terms of angles. No one's really peeking very much except.
Tom's waddling in lobby.
Alexandros is kind of peeking like deep into 2.
Yeah, he's making space. Alex knows how to play around a sniper. He can definitely you know, peek up, because that's how you play around a sniper. You gotta peek up in front of him, make the space, and then you can take the shot. If the sniper is the farthest one forward, it's not gonna end well, because then the sniper is not really a door clearing class.
Yeah, kind of showed themselves at 2. Deadly Seed rotating around. We're gonna try 1 this time. I mean, he had enough problems to get 1 shot. Maybe if you can get at least the 1 shot again and hit it this time, that can open the floodgates for a lot of Goblin Zone to take some extra space. The 1 shot comes through once again, does not quite hit the mark, and a little spam traded back and forth, but at the end of the day, the clock's just getting whittled down. They're still trying to go for this 1 door, saying it's their best bet, but
yeah, the medic's in the spot to get dropped.
There you go.
That's a good opening.
3rd time's the charm.
Yep, you know, sometimes sniper can be and that's gonna be counter snipe, so SVS is in the favor, but it is a 1-for-1 trade, so if red team want to do something, that would be a good time to do it. There's one less player to go do things, but they're gonna settle in. Minute 22 left. They might just exchange at some point. We'll have to see. I was gonna say, and he's on spy. Interesting.
Is he walking out though? He just stands still. Oh no, he changed his loadout. Okay. And now Zaya's checking. Is Zaya walking out?
I want to see some double spy.
No, Zaya's not walking out. Zaya's checking and just saw that. Well, actually, if Deadly Seed took off his cosmetics, then he has no clue.
No, he had his cosmetics on.
Oh, okay, yeah. Then they probably have.
I think he's checking.
Look at the fire. They know. Zaya knows for sure.
Love to see it.
Deadly Seed's just like, I don't have to move. I'm fine
here. He's on vlog. Yes.
I don't have to move. They're spy checking, but it doesn't matter.
He went back on Soldier. Soldier's a good spy checking class, dude. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise.
Going for the sack. Trying to revolve with a medic.
Wait, he got the force.
A soldier bombed in as well. Ultimately a 2-man, and that's going to be, you're plenty fine with that. Although, the amount of time left remaining. This is going to be threading the needle here.
Like 20 seconds. They're going to have like the last push starting at like the 18-second mark. As long as they get a little bit of point time, there's gonna be like the overtime that shows up. So
yeah, you just can't have this. You can't have this push be elongated at all.
Yeah,
you have to really go for it. Because they're gonna wait. They're waiting just a sec for people to get here. Now they're finally busting through 4. Immediately going for the gun.
Spawners aren't here quite yet though.
They're shooting the stickies and blasting them off to immediately go for the cap time.
Yeah, they need this cap time where the round is gonna end. They do get 2. That's a good start. There's a heavy on the board. The heavy is going to be able to shoot a lot of things here. There is the beat up. Alexandros, he doesn't see the heavy. He's going to drop that, is unable to get it. And this might be a round reset as it's just Guy alive. He's going to try to go in, see what he can do. He's going to avoid getting air shot, actually. He's going to land on the point, and that's going to be a round reset.
Yeah, I feel like they were kind of... It was kind of difficult in that situation because at one point you want to just really go for the point even though you shouldn't just because of the time. When I think it peeled one of the scouts away. Like one of the scouts felt like, oh, I have to cap. And it meant they weren't able to really crunch the spawn as hard, and a lot of the defenders had to stay alive.
They ended up getting the kills there, yeah.
But another mid, gonna be a round reset, so we'll see if both these teams are able to change up their mids at all. So far, they've been like relatively even for the mids. They've gone a little bit back and forth, so we'll see what the 4th mid brings for us. We see some fakes, no real committance yet from either of the teams, just high ground control, mostly from the side of the blue team, and they're able to immediately kind of deny Tomato Tom's fake bomb. So Spam going across, blue team finally looking like they're committing, but Tristan's gonna fall.
Look at them, Red's in the sad corner.
They are in the sad corner, but they're able to farm them. They're able to kite away because Anglerfish, they only really came from one direction and just gonna get kited around. As they backed up into the opponent's IT area, there was no one to prevent them from feeling that that was an okay idea. And it's just Golden left alive, a Delman of all classes that you don't win. Oh, wrong side of the map here.
Oh, this is gonna be a sick bomb. We gotta see the sick bomb.
In.
Oh wait, he's just trying to escape. No way. I thought he was gonna just land on someone's face.
He's dead. Late Delman death.
Late Delman death there. I'm surprised they didn't commit for the point, but yeah, I saw that red was all like the sad corner, and I figured they were gonna die, but they actually managed to, turn that around and get the kills, despite, blue team was so far forward, but I guess they all, spread out the damage, or somebody just hit all their shots. But regardless, that's gonna be a sizable Uber ad to push in a last here. We do have a level 2 up, and they're actually gonna try to spam it before the Uber starts, and they're gonna get it.
Yeah, notice the sniper immediately have to pop in to make sure no one drops. They got a little bit cap time. Zaya bombing in once again to try to make the space heavy on the field in favor of Valley, but they don't really have enough.
Magma just hard commit to the cap.
Yeah, they definitely have, like, both soldiers are literally standing right there as the cap went off, but just not.
I don't think
quite
they bombed it. I think they just walked at it. I mean, they got Magma, but Magma got so much point time.
One of them bombed it and kind of got like body blocked a little bit and didn't land exactly on it, and then as he was idling and fighting, he didn't like move onto it. So they were next to it, but not on it, and that's just going to be enough to make sure that Goblin's only able to just focus the cap and keep that as their first cap of the match. So another mid fight going to be the
instant lock on load pipe.
Yeah,
and almost hit another one. Gee, this weapon is angering me, but not even in the game.
Yeah, it's just going to be one of those games, but. Rotating sides, oh, it's ring around the rosy time. If you lose this, you are losing hard. But once again, in the sad corner, but they found a way to make sure that things are coming in an opposite angle. The soldiers from the side of Anglerfish doing work against Goblin Zone, and they have found themselves on the wrong side of the map, but they're just holding S and farming the remainder of the players that are left alive. Magma found himself really deep, but not really going to be too much there, and that was definitely a good change on how they were going to address that mid for the side of Anglerfish. The soldiers both bombed in, but went to either side of that sad corner and found a lot more success compared to the previous mid.
Okay, so Red did end up in the sad corner again, but this time they actually got punished for it. All right, love to see it as a that corner. If you're sixes and if you're in that corner on mid, that's probably not a good sign. That's the sad corner. There's a couple. There's at least one on every mid. Like Sunshine mid behind the Tetris. There's always one sad corner per match. You just gotta make sure you don't end up in it.
The Metalworks forward spawn, just like back to the forward spawn.
A lot of sad corners. As the gun is gonna actually fall, so they're gonna win only Red team actually approaching 70% here, so this might end up. They actually do manage to get tomato top in trade, but that's gonna be a very quick round.
Yeah, I think Gaia had a debt is sticky, so wasn't able to really defend the cap, but the soldiers were also not very ready to bomb at all onto the point to block it. So with no stickies to slow down an insane speed of the cap time, that's just a very easy cap. Able to take that down, and overall 3-1 in favor of Anglerfish. Going to another mid. Definitely going probably a bit of the opposite of the way I expected. Anglerfish getting a little bit of revenge here from the qualifiers, but anything can happen with the last couple minutes, especially because there is going to be infinite overtime if they don't reach 5 here in the last 6. So high ground control from the side of the red team.
Just getting nuked that mid. He got shot by like all 4 players. Like he got all the spam, so he got bowed, and then he just got walked at because there was no one to really shoot them, and that's going to signal pretty much instant mid losses. They're going to back up, going to keep everyone alive other than Golden, but. Yeah, sometimes you arrive at mid and your demo just kind of gets nuked by 5 players. It does happen.
And Tristan's behind as well, so he's not really able to help with the second fire right now. They're trying to make some extra space. Gaia bombs in, they're able to get deadly seed. And yeah, Gaia is extremely weak. Watch, he's lock and load pipes, able to back up just a tad, barely able to live, but melee! Tristan was battling from behind, trying to find any melee frag, and just finds a dome and backing up. And that's going to be a lot of room for the side of Anglerfish to make some space, able to get the force. Golden barely able to work his way out, but surf away from Bacon, doesn't want to use
vicious air shot,
but will have to eventually use. They get Magma, that's going to be something. See if they can get any more, but no, looks like the rest of Goblin Zone are a bit too far away. They're kind of showing themselves, though. They know that
they got the force, so
they have respawner advantage. They could try to make this fight drawn out and just use that to try to ultimately win, but deadly seed caught out alone by Sewer.
Zia can stay alive here. He's 2 HP, but there's no one to clean it up, and he's going to live, and that's going to mean Goblin Zone back on second, down 2 rounds, but there's infinite overtime, so don't have to worry about the time going down, but look at Anglerfish. They're just continuing to steamroll this. They're taking these 1-player ads or even players, and they're just getting to space.
Yeah, they lost Tristan over on the flank for the Anglerfish for this push, so good job by the side of Goblin Zone to make sure that was tempered just a tad. It means that they don't have to lose their advantage should they decide to use it, and the dry fight is pretty much dead and over before it really began. They kind of peeked the doors and realized, oh wait, we can't actually go off of being a 65 anymore. So going back a bit, but I don't know if Goblin Zone, it's like 25 ad because they used first.
Yeah, look how far back
they want to use
I don't think Goblin Zone realize how far back Anglerfish is playing. Anglerfish respects Goblin Zone's Uber way more than Goblin Zone respects their Uber.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those. It's like, I guess that there was kind of a big gap between the uses. Realistically, if you wanted to actually use it, you'd have to dry early, and maybe they just don't want to do that. But
Yeah, definitely is a. The Goblins didn't look like they wanted to commit, but Anglerfish still respecting it as Tristan's gonna bomb in. He's already half health before he even approaches the apex of his jump. Not gonna mill. I actually do see a scout actually gonna be the one who commits there. Magma gonna go in. He's actually gonna crater. That's a 2-man actually. As Alexandros goes in as well. So they 2-man and I don't think he really got much damage. As there's gonna be another sack, or at least they're gonna attempt to walk through. They are getting through sewer pretty well. You see a very high bomb from Kato Tom. Gonna land, gonna pre-fire the door, unable to get much though, but the great mate from behind kills Zoomzy.
No one was spotting IT, just worked his way through, able to make sure that medic is dead in the grave, and overall, that Goblin Zone, they're on their last legs here. I mean, they still have some room when it comes to the rounds, but they're just having to back up and back up and back. But now Alexandros might fall, he's trying to jump away, but oh, they slowed down in the push through one, so they're not able to clean up that frag finally. Ubering and bombing in, straight onto the gun, going straight over to the right-hand side of the map. Alexandros might get chased down by the side of Ali, a little bit of cap time, gonna bring Tomato Tom in. Red health players all over the place.
Oh, they're so hurt.
Both soldiers giving up their lives. Only 3 left alive for the side of Goblin Zone, able to make sure that Golden's dead, and Ali and Wake and the last one's left alive. Golden run away, Ali popped up and dead, and overall, I mean, the beginning of the tour wasn't too bad for the side of Anglerfish, but Goblin Zone holding on really strong, making sure that they pretty much explode as soon as the Uber was over, and able to maintain last. Probably going to be able to retake too. I mean, they have some respawners from Anglerfish, maybe they could poke around, but the cap's definitely going to go through.
You look, question. Well, we're in downtime. A question. Do you lock on the air shots count? They're like 0.5 air shots per actual air shot. I feel like
I think it's its own category.
You think it's its own category?
I think
okay.
If it's skybox enough, then it can count.
Okay.
But if it's normal skybox, then it's like, eh.
Yeah, that's a lock. It's like getting a DH air shot. Like, it looks cool, but it's like, eh.
Like, DH air shots can count if it's super skybox.
Yeah.
But if it's a normal one, then it's like, okay. Oh, the trap!
Speaking of which, that wasn't a lock of mode.
He landed there to make space, and there was just stickies there, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I saw there was a pipe heading that direction as well, but regardless, yeah, that's it's actually Magma and Alexandros getting a 2K though on the sack attempt. He's gonna bomb and actually buy a fair amount of space. Golden's trying to lock down Choke, but the lock mode is actually good. Yeah,
himself.
Yeah, he looks like he got counter locked. He's gonna have to back up, and yeah, that's gonna be actually return to mid for Goblin Zone. Kind of getting clawing their way back into this match. They're only down 2 rounds, but they've been on the back foot, I feel like, most of this game.
Yeah, a little bit too much chaos for Anglerfish to handle in that moment, but Tomato Tom making space. Same could be said for Zaya. Gaia will be the first to fall, so losing your demo man is going to be pretty hefty for the side of the Goblin Zone to continue to work with. Going to go ahead and back up, and Tomato Tom, he's in the thick of it, trying to take down Golden, but will not be so lucky. Some pistols will come out, but so will an arrow. Overall, 2 for 2. 3 for 2. Okay, there's tons of frags going.
They're just pushing.
All the flank.
Oh, here's the exchange. I like this exchange. You gotta buy some space somehow.
And buy some time too.
But he's just committing. Oh, and he hits
Deadly Seed.
Yeah, Deadly Seed hitting the 2 or 3 on and he's still behind. Look at Blue. They're all part of this corner. One of the scouts is gonna fall, but Ali's gonna get traded out as well. But here comes Zaya. A soldier behind, but good surf there from Zoomzy. Gonna surf out. Actually, he didn't even look at that player as the lock and load.
It's 2. That was kind of spooky for Goblin Zone because they were playing like they were definitively playing on the other half of mid.
Yeah, the soldier fast roll at it, but Zoomzy had a crazy surf. He didn't even look at the guy and just surfed away. So heads up play there from Zoomzy as Tristan is behind. So he's making it, doing some sneaky stuff. He's getting winger pistoled over and over again. This is Rover in 2023.
Yeah, and then a soldier's gonna come in to help as well, but it might give space for
Okay, you have a primary.
No,
please.
they're not dying. I was gonna say the fact that 2 people are chasing
He's on
Tristan,
second.
Maybe Anglerfish would poke around, but they have the gun. They're really prepared for this last push, so they're just gonna go ahead and play it safe. Which is
Tristan is
so
okay.
far.
Tristan's doing the fast roll because he knows he has to play the game at some point.
You gotta participate eventually. Get back to last. Hurry.
He actually is playing this pretty well as the Zuber's about to come and he's in second, although they're also staring back at him.
They're milking it. The sniper's up though. Oh, they lose one, but the Uber does.
Wait, he's going for the back cap. This is Chad. This is something else entirely. They have to go back for this back cap.
Yeah, they bring back 4. I mean, it definitely helps that Deadly Seed died before the Uber
still
came off, so. That is normally a play.
Is this how you play Roamer?
That is normally a play that you would see and be like, okay, what are you doing? With the fact that a kill happened and it made it really hard to like finalize that last push very quickly for the side of Goblin Zone, it actually kind of works out. He's even buying more space. Bring back both scouts will eventually die, but I mean, at the end of the day, you held last with that. You made sure that nothing was going to happen on 2. I think that you're fine with it. You got a little bit of a weak flank now when it comes to pushing with this ad, but you can work with it. So choke once again. Oh, -6.
Tristan went instantly became the protagonist for me after that very extended trip behind the enemy team. Is Zia actually gonna take a lot of damage? He's gonna need to require both status. The scouts are still trying to fight, and they are gonna fight. Gonna get Deadly Seed. Is Deadly Seed a little too aggressive there? Rest of his team wasn't there to support him, and that means they're gonna have to back up. But they still have this 40% ad to work with. They're gonna take it pretty fast. Everyone's here just to scout, like needing a cap, and they see how passive red team is right now. They're gonna, Alexander's actually gonna go in for the sack. Is gonna get 2 rockets off, and W2A gonna take some damage, but not enough in the end, as Red is approaching their Uber, though. If they want to fight this 5v6, and it looks like they are, they know they need these rounds. They can't just sit on last the entire game, especially considering it's infinite overtime now.
Ali gets the force, a lot of damage on the guy, but the same could be said. Although they had to give up lives from the side of Goblin to make sure this force comes out. Deadly Seed might get caught, not quite able to
Tristan?
way out just barely, but Tristan with the flank. Woo! He gets Gaia, he gets Zoomsy as well. What a flank. The timing of that was perfect, and the fact that, I mean, that was a great play, recognizing that, okay, they lost people, they're not going to be able to really spot me, I can just go in really early. And the gun's already dead. The seconds not even capped, and they're just working their way in. They got the spawn lockdown, a lot of damage on the heavy. They brought over one of the
Good
soldiers,
bomb
but
from Alex, though.
it's not going to be enough. I mean, maybe?
Maybe? No, not going to be enough. It's going to be a 4-1 for Anglerfish, so not quite what we expected. You know, still 2 new teams. Anything could happen, but yeah, 4-1 for Anglerfish is, they're coming to the season, you know, pretty strong. Goblin Zona back to the drawing board, you know.
Yeah, Anglerfish definitely got the revenge. This was if you only use like what little you know about like, okay, when they played in the qualifiers, like what happened, you could say like, okay, Goblin Zone are like definitely favored it, and if even if you said that like, oh, Anglerfish, you know, they could do something, you would expect it would still be a close game, but this is like relatively definitive. I don't know how much of that is just working on your issues quicker over like the short amount of time, like the 2 weeks, or it was just a play style thing at this point. Like you play them enough to where like, okay, we know what we need to do to actually beat this team, or it could even be just a process thing. No one got the correct guess.
Script, yeah, not quite according to script. We're gonna have a talk with the Anglerfish.
We'll have a writers meeting.
Yeah, exactly, a writers meeting. Make sure everything's up to standard. Yeah, that was actually, you know, it felt closer than a 4-1, but I see where the 4-1 came from, because you know you can either say you know, if you're Goblins, then you say, oh, we just made too many mistakes, or if you're Anglerfish, you could say, you know, we made slightly less mistakes than Goblins. So you know, whatever you can attribute them to. Is I feel like the mids, they were back and forth, but I think Anglerfish did win more mids in the end.
I think it was definitely like, even though the mids were back and forth enough, it was kind of even. It was definitely came down to a lot of the transitions. Like how successful were you in making sure like you got that force, or like you got those important frags with your Uber without having to give up too much. And I think at the end of the day, Anglerfish showed a little bit more promise there in making sure that when they try to achieve something, it doesn't, like, you don't have to give up as much. More was given to them for free from good gameplay compared to Goblin Zone that had to. I feel like they constantly had to give up a lot to like get a little. Like it was either both their soldiers or both their scouts, just like constantly down 2 in a lot of situations.
Yeah, there wasn't much benefit.
Right, lose multiple points at once.
And also, shout out to Tristan for top damaging on process roamer somehow. I don't know how that's possible, but good job.
I mean,
it's a tough one.
It's tempered by the death stat. He was constantly doing stuff.
Danny said that your roamer death stat and kill stats are actually reversed. So really, he went 25 and 16.
Constantly making space.
Yeah, that's that's what Bandy said, and Bandy's never been wrong.
It's kind of interesting that Golden was the one that got the most kills, though, because his performance was fine. His performance was fine, but it wasn't like one of those, oh, the snowman slam. Like you don't remember like all these crazy plays, but he was definitely the one to make sure that like a kill is not just going to escape and able to snipe him out. So definitely good on him. Can make or break.
Yeah, both demos did the whole not dying thing quite well. I feel like it's unprocessed. That's definitely it's an easier option than some of the other maps. You know, sometimes you see it on like. I've seen it on Snake Water, where your demos just don't die, but Process, I feel like, is a very good map for... if I don't want to die on demo, I'm not going to die.
Yeah, but then there's also this teeter-totter of like, okay, well, if I play too far back, then I have to like sticky snipe everything, and not only is that one-dimensional, but I also have to be good at sticky sniping like these invite players, so it's kind of like, do you or don't you play forward and risk your life? It can be kind of a hard thing to balance, but they both did a pretty good job, so we'll see how things go as the rest of the season progresses, and they have a bunch of different opponents, but... For now, Anglerfish come up on top. They've made sure that they're, they got the room to avoid getting last probably, or at least do pretty well. Maybe get some upsets along the way against some of the teams that didn't have to play through the qualifiers. On the side of Goblin Zone, still trying to work their way. It's only week 2, still a lot of matches ahead of you. Magma's still looking for his first victory. It'll come to him eventually. I believe in him.
I believe in them too. Yeah, I don't think we're doing any interviews. I haven't heard anything about that, so...
I think we're just chilling.
Yep. Just chilling, no interviews. So I guess I don't know if we're. Do we have any merch shoutouts or any upcoming matches we want to shout out?
We do have a match tomorrow, I'm pretty sure. I don't remember which
Ooh.
teams it are.
Are there any
Oh, never mind. They want interviews because they were
ah
reminded that they were reminded that it exists.
I see. I jinxed us.
I guess until they arrive at, let's see, is it 3D3M versus the Covenant on Thursday?
Is that? I don't know. Let me check the matches page in RGL. I'm opening it right now.
Yeah, so Thursday is 3D3M versus Covenant, so that should be a pretty good one as well.
All right. What? Well, today's Tuesday though. What about Wednesday?
I don't think there's anything planned for Wednesday.
Oh, nothing Wednesday. Okay.
At least for us, there might be some other like, someone else might have a
Yeah.
match they want to look at and cast and stuff. So,
Oh yeah. There's literally no matches. Well, there's one tomorrow, but yeah. Okay.
and you never know when things are gonna get rescheduled. But you can see on the stream
True.
as we're waiting. I think the merch situation is as it has been, where the designs. If you haven't picked them up before, we're still thinking about it and decided you want to pull the trigger. You can still go for it. Support all the players and admins and devs and the design team especially who put in the work to make sure that the t-shirts are available and happening. So it's there if you want it. Shop.rgl.gg.
Yeah. I
Oh,
don't.
whoops, I'm deafened. Sorry.
What up?
Welcome.
Yeah,
Congrats
thanks for
on.
casting our match, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Congrats on your dub. That was a 4-1, pretty dominant, but kind of back and forth. Any opening thoughts on how you guys played overall?
Yeah, I mean, our pregame went really bad. We lost 0-10 to Grandrome, so
That's a good
uh,
pregame.
yeah, so it was only uphill from there. Our mids were still a little bit scuffed, I felt like, but our last holds were pretty good. I felt like, and we did pretty good on pressure. We got a lot of the med drops and definitely helped out. Our last points plays were also, our last pushes were a lot better than usual, I think. So really good job on our scouts for playing cap and our demo for calling the Ubers and stuff.
Do you feel like you had a good expectation of like what was going to happen this match in terms of like, oh yeah, it's these guys. We play them all the time. We kind of know what's up, or was there still kind of figuring some stuff out when it comes to playing Goblins and on process in particular?
I casted like 2 or 3 of their games on last season. A couple of them were on process, so kind of saw how some of their players play. I know like Deadly Seed and Gaia a bit, and we've played these guys like almost every season since like season 4. So we kind of knew what to expect from them. We knew to expect Alexander Stein corners. You knew guys gonna be, you know, guys gonna be aggressive. Deadly Seed's gonna run at you. Tomato Tom's gonna do some crazy jumps. They're gonna shove flank a lot, go for some spy plays. Magma's gonna play sniper, so. I wrote down a lot of notes, and I watched her invite qualifiers match previously, so I listened to it at work today, just listening to the audio, so I had a pretty good idea of what was going to happen in this match, I think.
You got the
Nice.
tendencies locked down.
Thoughts on the lock mode?
It's really scary, but
Hate it.
it helps me because I'm really bad at counting, so I only have to count to 3 when I see the lock and load.
Oh, that's
True.
true. I never
That's
thought of
less
that.
work.
That's true.
Over the core, like you guys have had like a pretty like decent core, at least over the last what was 6 months, year or something. But you guys didn't play as a team last season. I think you probably play like a little bit. Like you guys played in that cup or whatever it happened in November, right? So
Yep.
there's some experience there. Can you guys did you guys experience like a wave of like, oh, it's been a bit, we got to get back in the groove with synergy and build that back up? Or do you think that even though it's only been like a little bit when it comes to actual league matches, that you think you're already back to where you once were, like what, 6 months ago, season 9?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like our first week was pretty bad for obvious reasons. I hadn't even played the previous season. I just did like maybe the one cup and a couple scrims, and a lot of us didn't play last season either at all. So yeah, there was definitely a rough start for the first week, but after that, I felt like we're actually doing better than we've ever done in terms of just like making calls and focus fire, team fights, last pushes, things we kind of struggled with in the past. So first week pretty bad, but after that, I think we're very gradually improving.
Now you can't definitely take one match and then describe it as a team's playstyle, but I think it's safe to say for actually both the teams that participated in this match that process, it didn't seem like there were tons and tons of risk taking. It was mostly just like safe, normal gameplay, or spare like a thing here and there that happens. Do you think that that was something that you guys did based off of like, okay, to beat Goblin Zone we have to do this, or was that just your comfort zone? Like we'll do our own thing. This is how we're going to win.
Yeah, we don't really have any crazy strats on process, so we didn't really plan anything out the ordinary or risky. But we knew Goblin Zone, they take a lot of risks, like doing crazy plays, so if we just kind of played normal, then things would probably work out for us as long as we're ready to, like, call things and have a plan to deal with, like, people going behind, off classes, that kind of thing.
Speaking of players going
going
behind,
behind.
yeah, Tristan, can you walk me back through that time you were caught behind for like a couple minutes on end as you're just getting like pistoled across the map for a minute straight?
Yeah. So obviously, I know I'll never win a 1v1 against a scout on process mid. So I just gotta keep their attention and keep like kind of playing it close to where like he thinks he can kill me, but then at the last second I try to jump away. But my thought process was just like, stay behind. If they turn around for me, then I'm doing the best I can. I just need to not die. And yeah, I mean that was pretty much it. I guess it worked because I kept like Alexandros and Deadly Seed for a bit on the mid and then on second.
Yeah, and you're also still able to help with the last fight. I saw at the end there you got a huge play as well. You killed I think the demo and the mid are right as they're getting into the last. There was some sort of sick flank. Jarrett probably saw it better than I did.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. You're like backing up, back turned.
Yeah, I think I just killed Tomato Tom in lobby, so I knew it was free. I just kind of went for it, honestly. And yeah, it worked out. I think my team did a really good job at pressuring them as well. And I mean, the play worked out, which I think, we, as Gibbler said, we didn't really try a lot of risky stuff. It just kind of happened. I saw the opportunity and I just took it and worked out in that scenario.
Any MVPs for your team?
I mean, honestly, Golden. I didn't expect him to be like putting up these sort of numbers on demo. He's also like kinda like, it's funny because I think our team works. Our synergy is more about our personalities more than our gameplay, if that makes sense. I think our personalities complement each other well, and kind of Golden is like a really important piece in the team dynamic and synergy. But yeah, Golden and obviously Mage, the great Mage, the GOAT.
Yeah, I gotta second that. I agree. Golden did really well this game. He's a little bit quiet in the pre-game, but he's had a lot of great calls and just did a lot of damage, obviously. So, good job for him.
With a large amount of teams this season, do you guys have an idea of like, all right, we need to beat this team, and then we have that as our success, and then if we don't get any more than that, it's fine, we've done enough? Do you have that kind of in line already on where you think that you should do, or what's your bare minimum for having a successful season, or are you still trying to discover that as the weeks progress?
Yeah. So we did some research previous to the season. We found out the worst record ever for an invite team, which is 0 wins and only 5 rounds won throughout the entire season. So that was our base minimum check. Just win more than 5 rounds, and we're not officially the worst invite team to ever play TF2.
And now that you've won this match, how obviously it's going to take a sec to think about, but do you have a better temperament now of like, oh, okay, maybe we can, what's the next step for you? You skipping a couple steps and going straight up to like, all right, we're getting at least 8th an hour. Are you just doing baby steps now, or you're just doing 9th?
Our general manager can answer that.
Yeah, I think my goal is I just want to get at least 1 win, which no, that's not shooting very high. But beyond that, I think there's the other like bottom half of the division we have a decent chance against. So I think a lot of those games are kind of coin tosses. I wouldn't be surprised to get a couple extra. But the main thing I just want to focus on is just trying to play my best and express my best self each match. And whatever happens, happens. That's kind of the mentality I want to have. It makes it a lot easier to just focus on the game.
And that's the true answer. It's not a number. It's about doing your best. All right. Well, I think that probably wraps it up for the most part for us. You got any other questions coming to mind, Space?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right, time to go over to shoutouts. You guys have any last minute shouts before we go ahead and end the stream?
Yeah.
Shit. Oh, you go first,
Go
Tristan.
ahead.
You go first.
Oh, okay. So shout out to the Harem Discord / Think Tank. More specifically, Rico, Mickey. Been there since RGL Season 1. Shout out to my teammates, all of them. The Gibbler Cinematic Universe as a whole. Shout out to all of those guys. Shout out to Do It. Shout out to Cadet. And yeah.
Yeah, I also just want to shout out the people that ranked for this last couple weeks. Thanks to Use and Dingo that ranked for the 1 match, and Kylo that ranked for that match, and Manicute. Also, our second team that I created, the Anglerfish Retirement Home in Advance. I'm sure they won their match tonight. Probably a dominant 5-0, I assume. And I also shout out to Goblinvite, who has now been forgiven.
What about shoutouts from you, Space?
And thanks to you guys for casting our match. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks.
Hey, no problem.
Yeah, no worries. Shout out to shout out to everyone watching. Shout out to this new season. Shout out to the new invite teams. Nice to see some fresh blood out there. Hope some of you guys live or stick around. It's always nice to see the new teams when they're going up in you can kind of look back on, oh, I remember those guys were just big noobs, and now they're actually high invite teams in a couple seasons. Everyone starts out somewhere, and shout out to Skis. I'm bringing the Ski shoutouts back this season.
All right. Well, definitely shout out to everyone for watching and all the teams for playing. If you want to watch more sixes, it's going to be Thursday night to watch. It's going to be 3-3M versus the Covenant. And if you want to watch even more, the Highlanders is in season now, as well as sixes. So you can always check every Monday at 9:30 EST to see the Highlander matches that go through. Not very deep into the season. Same could be said for sixes. So there's definitely a lot to cover this season. So none tonight, some Thursday, then Monday as always. But like I said, tonight, that's going to be it for us. I've been Jarrett, casting with Space Skills with Dolphin on production. Thank you and good night.
Good night.